Hello, happy October, and welcome back to another episode. Over the past few weeks, more episodes have come out for the shows I've been watching, and new shows have come out on Disney Plus. So that's what we're going to cover in this episode and go into great detail of what I like, dislike, and what I think about these shows. As usual, this episode will contain spoilers for all of these shows that I'll be talking about, so if you do not want to hear them, watch the episodes first and come back and take a listen, but let's get into it. The three main shows I've been watching, of course, are House of the Dragon and The Rings of Power, and now adding Andor to the shows that I've been watching weekly. Andor recently just came out on Disney Plus, and so far, it's been really boring. I don't know if it's just because the building of this story is very slow. There are going to be 12 episodes, though, but for the first week that it launched, it had a 3-episode release, and it took 3 episodes to finally get to where the story was going. So I'm not sure if it's going to be slow every single week. I'm hoping not. Like I said, I can't really make a hard decision about it yet because it's only the 4th episode that just aired. The 5th episode will be coming out this Wednesday. So I'm hoping they're going to keep amping up the show and get deeper into what he's going to be doing against the Empire and Cassian Andor's story leading up to Rogue One. If you are listening to this and you have not seen the episode and you don't care about spoilers, this show is based off of the character of Cassian Andor, who is one of the main characters of the Rogue One movie back in 2016. And it's taking place in 5 years before Rogue One and his story leading up to the movie. So he is not in the rebellion yet. He is not doing anything for the Rebel Alliance. And this is his origin story and how he became who he is in Rogue One. So right now he is a thief. He's stealing from the Empire. And he has a connection now who is trying to get him set up in stealing and doing things against the Empire. Like I said, there really isn't too much to tell over these past 4 episodes. They're still really dragging their heels and building the story. I don't dislike the show, though. It has done nothing to make me dislike it. It's not focusing on any of these main characters like Anakin, Obi-Wan, Boba Fett that we know from so long ago that is ruining the story. It's a brand new character that was only in 1 movie, and they did kill off in Rogue One, so they're bringing him back, and it's a brand new story, which I think is great. Like I've been saying all this time, they need to make new stuff out of new characters. That's why The Mandalorian has done so well. The Mandalorian is such a good show because it's a brand new character and something from scratch. So I have feelings like this is going to have a good storyline, but it is only the 4th episode. We have 8 episodes left, so they have plenty of time to start ramping up the story, ramping up the show, and I hope it gets a lot better because Star Wars needs a win for once. Before I leave the Star Wars topic, at the end of October this month, there will be the Tales of the Jedi animated series, which I am so excited for. That will be I think a one-time release of 6 episodes of all different types of stories within Star Wars, and I'm super excited for that. So October is a good month for Star Wars as long as Andor keeps getting better, and they never fail with the animated series. None of the animated series they've done has failed yet. I've enjoyed all of them this far, and I hope they keep releasing more animated series for Star Wars. I know they're going to try to do another season of Visions, I think by the end of this year, and that's also really exciting. I liked the season of Visions they released last year or the year before, and it was really good. Just every episode was a different creator, a different story, and some of those stories I wish they would make a full series out of, but I guess we'll have to wait and see. But enough about Star Wars, and now on to Lord of the Rings and the Rings of Power. Once again, I am just beyond shocked how much I enjoy this show. I was going into this show having zero desire to actually watch it. I didn't want it to happen because a big company like Amazon was taking the show and I was afraid what was going to happen. I know that Disney took over Star Wars, and there's been a lot coming out of Star Wars that I haven't liked. But once again, I have been thoroughly enjoying this show, and every episode has been great. What I've come to realize, though, is that my opinion is not a very popular one. It seems that many, many Lord of the Rings fans and nerds and just fantasy fans in general are not enjoying this show. There are tons of things they are not enjoying. I read a lot of reviews on Rotten Tomatoes and thought them very funny, but people are tearing this show apart and do not enjoy it. I, on the other hand, have been enjoying it a lot. This last episode, Galadriel and the Númenóreans are finally setting sail, and they arrive in Middle-earth. While this is happening, that one elf that is with the villagers are taking refuge at this tower, and the Sauron looking elf that is one of the three options of who Sauron is, he is leading all of the orcs and trying to attack this tower. The one elf and the villagers then retreat to the village, the orcs follow, there is a battle, and I'm summarizing greatly here because there's a lot in the episode, and then Galadriel and the Númenóreans arrive on shore and they take out all of the orcs. They then capture the one elf that is the leader of the orcs, and we find out that he is not Sauron. I kind of knew he wasn't Sauron the way his face looked. He gave off Sauron vibes, yes, but we found out that he was actually a different breed of orc, and he was a deformed elf back in ages before that created him into a half-breed orc kind of character, if I'm understanding correctly, which made him a follower of Morgoth, and now he is a leader of sorts of these orcs. Now, a huge issue that people are having with this episode and the series in general is Lady Galadriel. People are not liking how they're making this character, and I'm confused in why. They don't like how she is powerful, they don't like that she's fighting, and the only thing that I might not enjoy is that she's very vengeful. She wants to have revenge, and she's going on a kill path for Sauron. But that was her younger years. We haven't seen her in the younger years. This very well could be who Lady Galadriel was back then. But people are just saying that she's too overpowered, and it's like, you know what? This is exactly how Lady Galadriel is supposed to be. In the Hobbit movie, she was going and just disintegrating all of these orcs with a flick of her hand. And in the Fellowship of the Ring, when Frodo is offering her the ring, she shows off her power, saying that if you give me this ring, I'm going to destroy this world. I'm going to be just as bad as Sauron. So she is a powerful being. So I'm confused on why people are not happy with this. I think the person who's playing her character is great, and I'm thinking that this is a great representation of Galadriel. But once the battle was finished at the village, we already kind of knew that this was Mordor area, and it was all Greenland up until this point. But at the end of the episode, one of the villagers that was, I guess, a former user of the evil hilt has the hilt. He took it to the runes within that tower area, plunged it into the ground, and activated the volcano, aka Mount Doom. And when doing that, it literally created Mordor. Holes are popping out of the ground, blowholes are destroying the ground, lava is spewing everywhere, the volcano is erupting. It's getting all Pompeii in this episode, and now the next episode we'll see what the aftermath is going to look like. But this literally was the creation of Mordor in this episode. I absolutely loved it. It was great. And that's where episode 6 left off. There are still 3 episodes. I'm liking that they're keeping these episodes an hour each episode. It's like an hour 19 sometimes. I'm liking that they're full episodes, getting as much as we can, and I'm enjoying it. The last thing I want to talk about with Rings of Power is who Sauron is. First, I thought it was the Stranger, and now I'm pretty sure the Stranger, my guess, is either a Balrog or some other evil creature. I thought it was the leader of the orcs, and that was quickly removed as an option. But now I'm convinced it's Halbrand, the person who was fighting alongside Lady Galadriel, and he was supposed to be the king of the Southlands. I didn't really think he was until the moment he was talking to Lady Galadriel, saying that he felt this feeling and power while he fought by her side. And then she said, I felt it too. So I wonder if she's feeling his powers as Sauron. Now, I know that in the books, I've watched some videos, I read some stuff out of the book. Sauron pretends to be a human being and tricks the elves into believing that he is working with them, and then comes back around and turns into Sauron himself, because the spirit of Sauron travels through Middle-earth all the time and connects to human beings, and once he gets the Ring of Power, it's even easier for him to transport into a different being. So maybe it isn't Halbrand at the moment. I think it's the easiest for him to transport his spirit into a human vessel, if that's what he does, or if he just creates and manifests a being all on his own. Maybe he needs the ring to do that. If not, then I'm thinking Sauron is Halbrand, and we're just not going to know it yet. Maybe it's like a brainwash thing. Maybe he doesn't know he's Sauron. Maybe they're going to create something brand new in Lord of the Rings on its own. If so, I'm kind of down for it. Maybe not my favorite thing, but I'm still excited. I'm still curious to see who the stranger is. My guess it's a Balrog. I don't know how Balrogs are created, but he seems like he's really fluent in his fire magic. He did do some ice stuff in episode 5, so I guess we'll have to see. We still have 3 episodes left. Episode 7 is this upcoming Friday, and soon they're going to have to bring out the Rings of Power, as the show is called. The rings for the dwarves, the elves, the men, and then the One Ring. I'm going to say they're going to save that to episode 9. They're going to release them. They're going to create them. Elrond, Celebrimbor, they're going to have them get created. I know that Elrond and Durin are still looking for things in the caves. They're trying to seek after the Mithril, and they're trying to save the race of elves from going out and their light diminishing. So I'm really excited. I'm enjoying this show no matter what anyone else is saying, and I can't wait for next week's episode. But that wraps up the Lord of the Rings section, and now on to House of the Dragon. This show has been an interesting show. The first 3 episodes, I believe, was very slow. I feel like it was just a lot of bickering going on with the princess and the king, and just a lot of Targaryen drama, which I know that's what the show is supposed to be about. So, but other than that, if that's what exactly is what's supposed to be, then I've enjoyed it. This episode, they switched actors for each of the roles. It's jumping, like, I'm going to say 15 years into the future. They have a lot of ground to cover with the Targaryen family, so they have a lot of years to skip ahead. So there's going about 5 years, 15 years at a time between each episode, and now we have different actors. While I'm recording this episode, I have not seen the episode on October 3rd, and I will have to talk about that episode on another week. First, I want to talk about episode 5, which is the wedding episode of this Game of Thrones spin-off series. Every Game of Thrones has had a wedding episode. We have the Red Wedding from Game of Thrones, and it was very gruesome. And now we have the wedding episode of House of the Dragon. It was a very calm wedding episode, cool, collected. And then the end of that episode, Christian, or whatever his name is, the knight that is in love with Princess, literally just bashed this dude's head in and just went crazy. It was insane. I couldn't believe my eyes because it was unexpected. I just heard screaming in the crowd during the episode, and then we arrive at the brutal massacre of this guy. It was crazy. The next episode, episode 6, then jumped 15 years into the future, and the princess is now giving birth to another son. Quickly, we realize that the person she married has white hair, and her kids do not have white hair. And you realize that she has been obviously sleeping with another man that is not her husband and is one of her protector knights. No, it is not Christian, but it is obviously not her husband's children. Drama continues to spark through the queen's children and the princess's children as they are cousins. And that is literally the entire episode, is just finding the underlining story going on between the two families that are living in the same castle. The king is still slowly dying. He seems very, very aged. He has kids with the queen now, and the princess has her own kids, and there's drama going on with them along with the knights of these people. While this is going on, Matt Smith, his character's name is Damon, he has a wife in a different area. I'm not sure where they're living at, but they have their own children, they have their own dragons, and they're living their life. But his wife is having trouble giving birth to their recent child that they are pregnant with. She decides that she wants to off herself by making her dragon burn her alive. There are definitely many ways to go out, and I gotta say that was a pretty epic one. She just walked up to her dragon, started screaming Dracarys, and the dragon just burnt her alive. Going back to King's Landing, the drama is hitting its peak between the families, the tensions are high, and now it seems that in the next episode, Daemon and the princess are going to join back together, and they're going to have a war against the queen at King's Landing and her family. So that is exactly what is going to, and if you don't remember what happens in Game of Thrones, Joffrey actually tells the story about how the princess dies by her brother. So her stepbrother, which is the queen's son, is going to get on a dragon somewhere and burn the princess alive. Huge spoilers. If you listen to this, I warned you in the beginning, so now you know. But my biggest hopes for this show is that eventually it will come up to the point where there is a rebellion that takes place just before Game of Thrones. They're skipping years in strides with this show anyway. Maybe this happen in season 2 or 3, but this will be where Jaime sticks his sword in the Mad King's back, and Ned Stark, Robert Baratheon are going to storm King's Landing and take over the kingdom. So far, the show has been good. Like I said, my personal opinion, I've been slightly bored, and people keep saying that, oh, you just don't like story. No, I enjoy story. The story itself, though, is a little bit slow. Other than that, I'm still loving the show. It's a show focused purely on the Targaryens. It can't not be exciting. It just, for me, it's a little boring. But I will say that each episode, it is picking up and getting deeper and deeper into the story, which I guess I just have to practice some patience with and wait for it to get better. But that concludes the TV show segment of this episode. A couple other things, I want to talk about some games. I recently played the beta for Modern Warfare 2. Super excited for that game. I will say I did start playing it on my Xbox One S, and the graphics and the way it played were not good. So I had to bite the bullet. I was able to track down an Xbox Series X, got my hands on that, played the last couple days of the beta on that, and it was a clear, smooth sailing from there. The game was great. I'm very excited for it. The campaign will come out a little bit earlier. I did pre-order the game, and I'm excited for that. And the only other game that I'm extremely excited for, which I believe comes out in November, is God of War Ragnarok. I am beyond excited for this game. If I had more time, I'd go into greater detail about the game, the story from the 4th one leading into this 5th one, but I do not. So hopefully if I have more time, I can record some more stuff. I can just do an episode of just games and maybe an episode of just some specific shows that I'm watching. But as of right now, that concludes this episode. I thank you for listening. If you're listening to this and watching this on YouTube, please like and subscribe, and I will see you on the next Finklecast.